Well, that definitely took less than 4 years. President Leahy, Chairman of the Board Goodwin, Professor Ball, distinguished members of the faculty, parents, family members, and especially the graduates of the class of 2012. Congratulations. It's an honor to share this happy day with you. And as I look at all of you, I see promise, possibility, and more than a few people who look like they came here directly from Toads. As someone who attended that lesser university in New Haven, it pains me to do this, but I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate your athletic teams. Your men's and women's basketball teams beat Yale this year. Your women's hockey team beat Yale twice. In January, your men's hockey team beat Yale 2-1. And then in February, you beat them again by the score of 2-2. Apparently, Bulldogs are no match for Bobcats. And as I was thinking of what to say to you today, I was struck by the observation that commencements are the time when the speaker tells thousands of students who are dressed identically that the key to success is individuality. Presumably, the fact that you're here today means it's no longer a question of whether you're going to graduate. The question now is, what are you graduating into? Let me have a show of hands. How many people in the graduating class have already secured paying jobs or are going to school next year? Now, let me have the hands of those of you who don't. That's actually a good deal better than the national average, where about half of recent college graduates are either jobless or underemployed. This is a serious situation. It's both a cause and effect of the fact that you're graduating into a tough economy, in a polarized nation, in an uncertain world. It's a situation that makes me think about what Woody Allen once said. We're at a crossroads. One road leads to hopelessness and despair. The other leads to total extinction. Let us pray we choose wisely. So my goal today is to help you make your way with some examples from my own life and the world we live in. I have 5 pieces of advice, 4 do's and 1 don't. First, maintain your confidence. Second, don't take a job you're really not interested in. It's like marrying someone you didn't really want to date. Third, ask questions when you don't know something and share knowledge when you do. Fourth, dream big dreams and don't get discouraged by rejection. And fifth, as you get older, think seriously about starting your own enterprise, whether it's a business, a charity, or an NGO. Let me say a little about each. First, maintain your confidence. People in positions of authority don't always know more than you. For example, when I was leaving college and interviewing, I interviewed Pan American World Airlines. They were a high-prestige U.S. airline back when the U.S. had high-prestige airlines. The person interviewing me asked me a typical question: why did I want a job at Pan Am? I said, I think Pan Am's a wonderful company and has some important additional opportunities to haul freight. The interviewer was astonished I suggested something as unappealing as freight. He told me it was a dumb idea and that I'd never make it at Pan Am. And he basically terminated the interview right there. I can assure you, being dismissed from an interview is something you will remember. Now, it turns out that Pan Am itself was terminated a number of years later. It went bankrupt and was liquidated. Maybe they should have gone into the freight business. FedEx and UPS, massive companies, and they're doing just fine. and a lot of commercial carriers depend on freight to be profitable, so maintain your confidence in your ideas when you think you're right. Second, I know this sounds odd when opportunities are few and far between, but settling for a job that you really don't want is usually an unwise decision. And it's usually unhappy for you and the people who hire you. Your parents may say they don't like me giving you this advice because the only place they don't want you to settle is back in your own room at home. As you might imagine, it's hard to find a job that's terrific if you're spending all your time doing one that isn't. For example, another one of my early job interviews was at a company called Bankers Trust. It was at 280 Park Avenue in New York. I'd never been in a skyscraper. I'd had to go out and buy a suit for my first interview. I'd never seen an office that had art all over. I was lucky enough to have an interview with the vice chairman of the company, and he had a big model of a ship behind glass, which was part of his family's own fleet. After the interview, I was offered a job by him, but at the same time, he advised me to turn it down. I had no other prospects at the moment. I asked what he thought I should do, and he said I should look for a small group of very bright people doing almost anything, a place where I could learn from others and have an impact. And that's my advice to you, because when it comes down to it, your job is what you do for 8, 9, 10 hours, or as my wife would tell you, 12 to 14 hours a day. Your work, if you intend to be successful at it, becomes a major part of your life. Don't let it choose you. You have to choose it. The job I ultimately took was at a small but important investment banking firm, taught me another lesson. You have to be well trained to be successful. Trying to figure out something on your own risks poor results. Ask questions and do great work. Find mentors who will teach you and help you grow. In my first job, I was utterly untrained. No one was helping me. They just left me in an office, and I didn't know enough, and I was too embarrassed to ask for help. I lived each day in fear someone was actually going to ask me to do something, sort of like going to a class where you haven't read the stuff and you hope you can't catch the professor's eye. I muddled my way through, but I was overjoyed when I left. I retreated to Harvard Business School because I needed to be taught, and it simply wasn't happening at work. At my firm, Blackstone, I make sure the people who work for us learn how to excel at the tasks they're given. As a firm, we ask questions when we don't know something and share knowledge when we do. That's one reason why we've done quite well. My fourth piece of advice: dream big, worthy dreams. I don't believe in aiming low and succeeding. But when you aim high, you have to be prepared to handle rejection. When my partner and I set out to start our company, we decided we were going to go out and raise $1 billion, a modest objective. Actually, I wanted to raise $1 billion and be one of the largest, what was then called leveraged buyout firms in the world. My partner, inherently a more sensible and balanced person, wanted to raise $50 million in a smaller fund and learn the business because we actually had never made an investment. But he was a good partner and he indulged me. We sent out 488 offering circulars to people we knew, some of whom we knew quite well. I sat in my office waiting for the phone to ring. It never did. I started calling these 488 people. The first 17 said no to us, to our faces. This was a desperate situation. We'd staked our reputations, meager though they were, on raising one of the largest funds at that time in the world. These days, you can be rejected by 488 friends on Facebook with a click of a button. Back then, getting rejected by 488 people who knew you and had seen your work. Now that really took some doing. The 18th meeting we had was our last shot. It was with the leading private equity investor in the world at that time, the Prudential Life Insurance Company of America. They were the Warren Buffett of their business. They were located in beautiful downtown Newark, New Jersey. My partner and I were invited to lunch on a Friday afternoon. The head of investments at Prudential was eating a tuna salad sandwich with lettuce on white bread cut on a diagonal. I kept watching him chew. As I was describing why he should invest with us, he stopped halfway through the sandwich, looked at me and said, "I think that's a good idea. I'll give you $100 million. And then he kept eating that sandwich. And all I could think was, please don't choke before we finalize this deal. Success doesn't come easy. 12 publishers rejected J.K. Rowling and her Harry Potter book before one decided to give it a go. Without people being able to overcome rejection, we wouldn't have had light bulbs, cars, computers, or Kentucky Fried Chicken. And as you heard, Blackstone did become the largest firm of its type in the world. If we had just set our sights on being a $50 million fund, if we aimed low and succeeded, we would have really missed our moment. Success at an easily attainable goal is really a failure to set a high enough one. Finally, at some point in your career, I'd encourage you to start something new and build it. It's incredibly satisfying. I actually enjoy being my own boss. Look at what Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger just did with Instagram. They graduated from college in 2006 and 2008, respectively. What started as an idea about how to make photos more fun and easier to share grew into a business that agreed to be sold for $1 billion, actually to Facebook, so now it's $1.2 billion, assuming they can get through the Federal Trade Commission. Larry Page and Sergey Brin were graduate students at Stanford when they started Google as part of a research project. Mark Zuckerberg, who's on the cover of every newspaper, was an undergraduate who had an idea to take the physical books printed with the names and pictures of everyone in the Harvard dorms and put them online. Those Facebooks became Facebook. And it's not just with men. Sarah Blakely was in her 20s when she started Spanx, and she's now the world's youngest self-made billionaire. Some of you are already building. You've started a social networking site for Greek life here, as well as a website that allows photographers and artists to create portfolios online. The trick to building something and being successful at it is to be able to identify paradigm shifts, moments when things are changing before anyone else. When you see something that no one else sees, you have to act. In conclusion, your future is up to you. You'll need to work hard and work smart for your sake and for society's. I believe your generation is destined to remake America, to restore our competitiveness. You've acquired the right educational foundation here at Quinnipiac, and now it's time to build on it in the real world. I know you're going to be successful. Congratulations and good luck on your personal journey.